Flow like water. Water does not resist the shape of the vessel it inhabits. It moves, it yields, it embraces form without losing essence. Consider the stream that carves a canyon over centuries, not by force, but by persistent, gentle flow. Strength is not always loud or rigid. Sometimes it is quiet and fluid. Water shapes itself to every container, yet remains true to its essence. This paradox is the heart of resilience. To be unyielding is to break. To be fluid is to survive, to adapt, to thrive. Like water, you must learn to navigate the contours of your circumstances, bending without snapping, shifting without losing your core. Sun Tzu, the master strategist, said, "Water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground over which it flows. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe whom he is facing." In this ancient wisdom lies a profound truth. Adaptability is the cornerstone of strategy. You do not confront an obstacle with brute force alone. You study it, understand its nature, and flow around or through it with grace and precision. Bruce Lee, the philosopher of motion, echoed this when he famously declared, "Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot." Now, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Here, the metaphor deepens. Fluidity is not passive. It is dynamic. It is choice. Water can yield, but it can also exert unstoppable force when necessary. Fluidity is a dance between softness and strength, between yielding and asserting. What does this mean for you? It means mastering a duality. You hold steady in who you are, your values, your purpose, your core essence. Even as you shift your approach, your tactics, your outward form. Adapt your form, not your nature. Water teaches us that true power lies in balance. It is soft yet persistent. It yields to obstacles, but wears them down over time. It never loses its identity, even as it becomes many shapes. This is the essence of strategic fluidity. Imagine yourself as water flowing through the landscape of life and leadership. You encounter rocks, branches, sudden drops. You do not stop. You do not fight the shape of the terrain. Instead, you find new paths. You flow around resistance, carving new channels with patience and determination. This is not surrender. It is mastery. Water's nature to flow around obstacles without losing its essence is a metaphor for resilience. It is the embodiment of strategic adaptation. Like water, you absorb the shape of the challenges you face without being consumed by them. You remain whole. You remain true, even as you transform your methods. Consider the bamboo, flexible in the storm, bending but not breaking. Like water, it embodies both softness and strength. This balance is crucial. Rigid structures shatter under pressure. Fluid forms endure, evolve, and ultimately prevail. You may ask, how can I be fluid without losing myself? How do I remain adaptable without becoming inconsistent? The answer lies in understanding that fluidity is not aimlessness. It is purposeful change rooted in an unchanging core. Water's essence never changes. Its molecules remain water, no matter the container. Likewise, your core values, your mission, your identity are your constants. They anchor you. Around them, your behaviors, your strategies, your responses can and should adapt. This harmony between change and constancy is the secret of enduring success. It is the foundation of leadership that is both strong and flexible, firm and yielding. Look at nature again. Rivers do not fight the rocks, they flow around them. Storms do not break the bamboo, they bend it. The wisdom here is clear. Resilience is not resistance. It is graceful adaptation. In this workshop, you will begin to see how to embody this principle. You will learn to flow like water, flexible, persistent, and powerful. You will explore ways to hold your core steady while allowing your form to change. Remember, water's power lies not in rigidity, but in fluidity. Its strength is in its ability to adapt continuously while preserving its essence. This is the balance you seek. Flow like water. Same essence, new shape. Adapt your form, not your nature. Let this be your guiding metaphor as you move forward. The path is not about rigid control or stubbornness. It is about responsiveness and grace. As you face your own obstacles, ask yourself, Am I resisting the shape of my circumstances, or am I flowing through them? Am I holding too tightly to a form that no longer serves me? Can I bend without breaking? These questions open the door to transformation. You are not water trapped in a fixed mold. You are a living current, capable of shifting and shaping your path without losing who you are. In embracing this, you claim a strategic advantage. You become a force that cannot be stopped by mere obstacles. You become a leader who thrives in change. So, as you begin this journey, hold these truths close. Strength lies not in rigidity, but in fluidity. Flexibility is a form of power. Your core remains steady even as your approach evolves. Water flows endlessly because it does not cling to one form. It adapts to the moment, to the terrain, to the challenge. And in this flow, it finds its strength. You too must learn to flow, not aimlessly, but with intention and clarity. The essence of fluidity is the essence of resilience. It is the art of becoming unbreakable through surrender to change. Flow like water. Imagine a workshop, not just a room filled with words and theories, but a space where you begin to master the art of being water. Here, you learn that fluidity is not about losing yourself in the currents of change, but about shaping yourself with them. Fluid adaptation is not a one-time act. It is a continuous dance, a responsive motion that flows with the rhythm of your environment. It is not about rigid adherence to fixed forms or plans, but about reading the moment, sensing shifts, and adjusting your course with grace and intention. Consider the path of water once more. It does not storm through obstacles with brute force. Instead, it finds the smallest crack, the tiniest opening, and slips through. It may seem gentle, even weak, but it is relentless. Through persistence and subtle shifts, water shapes entire landscapes. This is the power of gentle yet deliberate change. It is a strategy of patience and presence. It invites you to look beyond immediate resistance and see the possibilities resting beneath the surface. Contrast this with those who resist change outright. They brace themselves against the current, stiffen their form, and fight the inevitable. These are the ones who break under pressure, rigid, brittle, unyielding. Now, look at those who flow through challenges. They bend, they yield, they find new pathways. Their resilience is not a product of strength alone, but of flexibility. Their victories come not from force, but from the wisdom to adapt. The difference between resistance and flow is the difference between chaos and calm. When you resist, you invite fracture and failure. When you flow, you create space for growth and transformation. Fluid adaptation is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. It calls for a mindset shift, from control to responsiveness, from fixed plans to dynamic strategies. You begin by letting go of the illusion that you must have all the answers before you move. Fluidity asks you to trust in the process, to experiment with different forms, and to remain open to feedback from your environment. This does not mean abandoning your goals or values. Rather, it means holding them lightly while you navigate the shifting landscape. You keep your purpose clear, but your methods flexible. Imagine a river encountering a fallen tree. It does not stop. It does not try to uproot the obstacle in a moment of frustration. Instead, it flows around, under, or over it. It may pause, it may swirl, but it continues its journey. This is the essence of fluid adaptation, persistence without rigidity. In this workshop, you will practice sensing the flow of change before you act. You will learn to read the subtle signals in your environment, the undercurrents of fear, opportunity, resistance, and possibility. You will discover how to respond with agility, shifting your approach without losing sight of your destination. You will embrace the paradox of being both stable and flexible, anchored and free. Bruce Lee's words echo again. Be formless, shapeless, like water. But what does this look like in practice? It looks like letting go of fixed expectations. It looks like embracing uncertainty as a space of opportunity rather than fear. It looks like experimenting with new forms of leadership, communication, and problem solving. It looks like knowing when to flow gently, when to surge forward, and when to retreat and gather strength. Fluid adaptation is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is an active, intelligent engagement with reality as it unfolds. You might feel tension between your desire for control and the necessity of flexibility. This tension is natural. It is the space where growth happens. The question is not whether you will face change. That is inevitable. The question is how you will meet it, with resistance that fractures or with flow that transforms. In this practice, you learn to embrace change as a partner, not an enemy. You cultivate patience to endure the slow shaping of your path. You develop presence to recognize opportunities hidden in disruption. This is the path of the fluid strategist. The journey requires courage. Courage to let go of old habits and embrace new forms. Courage to move forward without full certainty. Courage to be vulnerable in adaptation. Yet courage alone is not enough. It must be paired with wisdom, the wisdom to know when to hold fast and when to bend. Water's persistence is not blind. It is guided by a deep intelligence born of experience and awareness. So, how do you cultivate this intelligence? How do you become a master of fluid adaptation? You start by observing. You become attuned to the rhythms around you and within you. You notice the subtle shifts in your environment, the changing moods, the unspoken signals, the emerging patterns. You practice flexibility in small ways, adjusting your schedule, your communication style, your problem-solving approach. You experiment with new tactics and learn from what works and what doesn't. You anchor yourself in your core values and mission, allowing them to guide your choices without dictating rigid forms. You develop emotional resilience, the capacity to embrace uncertainty without panic, to navigate ambiguity without losing confidence. Through these practices, you build a system of adaptability that is both intentional and organic. It is a system that anticipates multiple scenarios, enabling you to pivot quickly when needed. It is a system that balances stability with change, order with creativity. This is the hallmark of fluid leadership. You become like water, not trapped in a single form, but flowing freely through the landscape of your challenges and opportunities. You do not fear the unknown. Instead, you welcome it as the space where new shapes emerge. In this way, fluidity becomes your strength. It becomes the source of your resilience, your creativity, your strategic advantage. Flow like water. Same essence, new shape. Adapt your form, not your nature. Grace, not resistance. Core, not conformity. Calm, not chaos. These are the rhythms you cultivate as you move from rigidity to fluidity. As you practice this art, remember, fluid adaptation is a continuous process. It is not about perfect transformation in a single moment. It is about steady, responsive evolution over time. You will face moments when resistance tempts you. You will encounter challenges that seem immovable. Yet in those moments, return to the metaphor of water. Flow around, flow under, flow through. Persistence is in the subtle shifts, the patient courses, the flexible mind. This workshop invites you to become a student of flow, a student of life's natural currents. You will learn to read the terrain, sense the currents, and move with intention. You will embrace the power of subtlety over force, of patience over urgency. You will discover that fluidity is not just a response to change. It is a way of being. It is the art of living with grace amidst uncertainty. It is the strength found in gentle persistence. Flow like water. Be formless, shapeless, yet full of purpose. In this practice, you are not lost. You are found in the ever-changing dance of life. Fluidity is not chaos. It is discipline. It is the practiced art of balancing change with stability, motion with stillness. Like a river that remains a river, no matter how many twists and turns it takes, you too cultivate a steady core that grounds you as your form adapts. This is the essence of fluid adaptability, a deliberate dance between holding firm and letting go, between unshakable identity and responsive flexibility. To be fluid is to anchor yourself in values and identity that do not waver, even as your external methods and behaviors shift, like water conforming to new vessels. Imagine a tree rooted deeply in the earth. Its branches sway with the wind, sometimes violently, sometimes gently. The branches move, yet the roots remain firm. The tree's core identity is its roots, unchanging, steady, life-giving. Similarly, your core is your root system. It nourishes your adaptability. Without it, the branches of your actions would be aimless, powerless, disconnected. Fluid adaptability requires 3 essential traits that form this root system. First, perceptive flexibility. This is the ability to read your environment with clarity and openness, to sense shifts before they become obstacles, to perceive opportunities hidden within change. Perceptive flexibility is not passive observation. It is active engagement, a constant attunement to the subtle signals around you, the unspoken words, the shifting moods, the emerging patterns. It means you do not react blindly, but respond intelligently. You adjust your form based on what the moment demands, not on rigid plans or fears. Next, steadfast identity. This is the unwavering commitment to your core values, your purpose, your mission. It is the compass that guides your fluid form. Steadfast identity is your essence, the water that remains water regardless of the vessel it occupies. It roots you in authenticity and integrity. Without steadfast identity, fluidity becomes mere conformity, a loss of self in the face of change. With it, fluidity is an expression of true strength. Finally, dynamic experimentation. This is the courage to try new approaches, to test different strategies, to learn from failure and success alike. Dynamic experimentation is the flow of creativity within structure. It is the willingness to evolve your methods without compromising your core. Through dynamic experimentation, you discover new shapes that fit the landscape of your challenges. You become a craftsman of adaptation, skilled, curious, resilient. Together, these three traits create a powerful synergy. Perceptive flexibility allows you to sense change. Steadfast identity anchors you in purpose. Dynamic experimentation enables you to act with creativity and courage. This triad balances change and stability in a way that makes fluid adaptability not just possible, but sustainable. Consider a master sailor on turbulent seas. The sailor reads the wind and waves, perceptive flexibility, trusts the compass and stars for direction, steadfast identity, and adjusts the sails and course as needed, dynamic experimentation. The sailor does not fight the ocean. Instead, they flow with it, steering through storms with skill and grace. This is the metaphor for your journey. Fluid adaptability is not about losing yourself in every new circumstance. It is about maintaining your essence while embracing new forms. It is the difference between bending with the wind and being blown away by it. It is the core, not conformity. Calm, not chaos. Practicing these traits requires intention. Start with awareness. Notice where you might be rigid in your thinking or actions. Where do old habits create resistance to change? Where might flexibility open new doors? Then, ground yourself in your core. What values and purposes define you? What principles are non-negotiable? Write them down. Reflect on them regularly. Next, invite experimentation. Try new approaches in small ways. Adjust your communication style. Explore different problem-solving methods. Learn what works and what doesn't without judgment. As you practice, you build resilience. Not the brittle kind that snaps under pressure, but the flexible kind that absorbs impact and recovers. You develop a mindset that welcomes change as a natural and necessary part of growth, rather than a threat to stability. This mindset transforms challenges into opportunities for learning and evolution. Remember, fluidity is not aimless drifting. It is purposeful movement guided by clarity and conviction. Each shift in form is a conscious choice, a strategic response to the moment. This practice deepens over time. You become more attuned, more grounded, more creative. You learn to flow with intention. You embody the paradox of being both steady and flexible, a force that moves with the currents without losing its direction. Flow like water. Same essence, new shape. Adapt your form, not your nature. Grace, not resistance. Core, not conformity. Calm, not chaos. As you integrate these traits into your life, you will notice a profound transformation. Your responses to change become more fluid, less stressful. Your decisions become clearer, more aligned with your values. Your presence becomes a steady current that others can trust and follow. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable become manageable currents to navigate. You begin to see your environment as a dynamic landscape, full of possibilities rather than threats. You become not just a participant in change, but a master of it. This is the power of fluid adaptability. It is the art of holding your core steady while flowing freely through life's shifting terrain. It is the practice of being unbreakable through surrender. It is the path of the wise strategist and resilient leader. So, cultivate perceptive flexibility. Anchor yourself in steadfast identity. Embrace dynamic experimentation. In these, you find the root system of your fluid strength. You become like the river that carves canyons, persistent, adaptable, alive. You become like the bamboo that bends in the storm, graceful, strong, enduring. You become water itself, ever flowing, ever true. Flow like water. To cultivate fluid adaptation, you begin with conscious choices, small, deliberate steps that build over time into a resilient way of being. It is not merely a mindset, but a practice rooted in action. First, define your immutable principles. These are the pillars of your core, values and beliefs that remain steadfast no matter what storms arise. They are your anchor points in shifting seas. Without these anchors, flexibility risks becoming aimless drifting. Your principles ground you, offering clarity in moments of uncertainty. They are not rigid rules, but guiding stars. Once your core is clear, craft strategies that are intentionally flexible. Think of them as frameworks rather than fixed paths, blueprints open to revision and refinement. Build systems that anticipate multiple scenarios. Imagine yourself navigating a river with many branches. Each turn requires a different approach. By preparing for diverse possibilities, you empower yourself to pivot swiftly and confidently. This foresight is not about predicting the future perfectly. It is about readiness, the willingness to adjust your sails when the wind changes direction. Embrace uncertainty as a space of opportunity rather than threat. When you expect change, you reduce its power to unsettle you. Develop emotional resilience, the capacity to face change without hesitation or self-doubt. This resilience is cultivated through self-awareness and compassion. When you encounter discomfort or fear, acknowledge it without judgment. These feelings are natural currents in the flow of adaptation. Then, choose to move forward with calm intention. Practical steps might include regular reflection on your core values to reaffirm your identity. Scenario planning exercises that explore different outcomes and responses. Mindfulness practices that enhance your presence and reduce reactive tendencies. Seeking feedback and diverse perspectives to expand your perceptive flexibility. Experimenting with new habits or tactics in low-stakes situations to build confidence. These practices form the scaffolding of your fluid adaptability. They transform abstract concepts into lived experience. Consider a leader who faces sudden market disruption. Instead of clinging stubbornly to a failing strategy, they revisit their core mission, identify adaptable approaches, and test new models quickly. Their emotional resilience allows them to stay calm amidst uncertainty, making decisions rooted in clarity rather than panic. This leader embodies grace, not resistance. You too can cultivate this grace. Begin by anchoring yourself in your unchanging core. Know what you stand for and why. Then, design flexible strategies around that core, plans that welcome change as a natural part of progress. Create adaptable systems that can shift with evolving circumstances, teams that communicate openly, processes that allow iteration, structures that support learning. Invest in your emotional resilience. Practice self-compassion, cultivate mindfulness, and embrace vulnerability as a strength. Remember, fluidity is not about abandoning control, but about expanding it. Control over your responses, your choices, your direction. Flow like water. Same essence, new shape. Adapt your form, not your nature. Grace, not resistance. Core, not conformity. Calm, not chaos. In every decision, ask yourself, am I holding fast to my core while allowing my methods to shift? Am I responding with flexibility, grounded in clarity? Through these questions, you practice fluid adaptability daily. This is the art of flowing with challenges rather than against them. It is the discipline of evolving without losing yourself. As you integrate these practical steps, you build a foundation for enduring success. Your leadership becomes a steady current that moves with purpose and agility. Your resilience becomes a source of inspiration and strength for those around you. You become a strategist who navigates complexity with calm confidence. Flow like water. Let your core guide your form. Let your form serve your core. In this balance, you find power and peace. Water's power lies in its quiet persistence, its ability to adjust, flow, and persist without resistance. It is this very softness, this yielding nature, that grants it profound strength. In understanding this, you glimpse the heart of fluidity, not as weakness, but as a strategic advantage. Strength and softness are not opposites. They are partners in a delicate dance. Water embodies this union, strong enough to carve stone, soft enough to fill any space. This is the paradox of fluidity, a dynamic equilibrium between firmness and flexibility. To be fluid is to nurture strong convictions while remaining open in your methods and tactics. It is to hold your core like a flame sheltered within glass, bright and unwavering, while allowing the shape of the glass to shift with the breeze. Like rivers flowing through vast landscapes, disciplined yet flexible, persistent yet yielding, you too embody this mindset. You become a current that adapts without losing direction, a force that embraces change without succumbing to it. Ask yourself, where do I hold too tightly, causing fracture? Where do I yield too easily, losing form? How can I cultivate grace rather than resistance in the face of change? These questions invite reflection. They challenge you to examine your rigidity and softness, your resistance and flow. Consider the power of calm over chaos. When you meet disruption with calm, you create space for clarity and creativity. When you respond with chaos, you multiply confusion and conflict. Fluidity calls you to embody calm, a steady presence amidst the storm. It calls you to hold your core steady amid shifting tides. Like water, you do not seize or clutch. You flow. You do not resist the shape of your circumstances. You move with them. And in this movement, you find resilience. You find strength. You find success that endures. Flow like water. Same essence, new shape. Adapt your form, not your nature. Grace, not resistance. Core, not conformity. Calm, not chaos. Let these phrases be the rhythm of your practice, the mantra of your journey. Now, reflect deeply. How will you embrace fluidity in your life and leadership? What old forms will you release to flow more freely? How will you nurture your core while adapting your approach? Imagine yourself as a river, ever moving, ever shaping, ever true to its source. In the dance of change, be the water that flows, that persists, that transforms without losing itself. This is the philosophy of fluidity. This is the art of resilience. This is your path forward.